is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Florida.
Sunday has arrived in Pittsburgh, and the walk across the Clemente Bridge has commenced. And a good crowd coming in for a Sunday, and the Marlins, who did not win many games over the last 3 years here, have won the first two. A chance to sweep in a 3-game set. In a crucial spot are the Fish and the Pirates, racing for the wild card in the National League. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Eduardo Perez. For the Marlins, a real nice bounce back on this road trip from 3 losses in a row at Cincinnati, and a little different jump in the lineup. Xavier Scruggs called up 2 games, 2 starts. He made a difference in night 1, and then a big difference last night.
A big difference, and you're talking about a pitch down in the zone that he was able to use his legs and hit it and muscle it out of here. Catching the ball out in front is what you want. The Marlins needed power in their lineup, and Xavier Scruggs has been able to provide that power in a fine way for the Marlins yesterday.
Speaking of down in the zone, I think that's the last thing that Juan Nieves will tell Jose Urena when he exits the bullpen for the start. Stay down in that zone.
He has to be able to stay down. He depends on the ground balls. Every time he throws the ball up in the zone, it flattens out, and it makes it easier for hitters to hit. You know, the big question mark is he has to be able to throw down, but he has to be able to do it early in the game. He was able to settle down in Cincinnati late in the game, but earlier on, he must establish down low, miss low, and miss inside.
I think a good question going into this ball game as well. How much more does Ryan Vogelsong have in the tank?
Well, let's put it in perspective. When Ryan Vogelsong signed his contract first as a professional player, Jose Urena was 6 years old. That just puts it in perspective how long Ryan has been able to play the game. He has to be able to mix his pitches. It's not about the fastball. It's about taking off, adding, and subtracting. And if he's able to keep the Marlin hitters off base twice around the lineup, he's done his job.
You can see the Pirates on a throwback Sunday, looking like the 1970s. We are family. Going for a sweep are the Fish at PNC. Marlins and Pirates finish the series. Next. Miami Marlins baseball on Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by the all-new 2017 Chrysler Pacifica. By Southwest, transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. And by your local Toyota dealers. Let's go places. That place today is PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Hot the last 2 days in Pittsburgh, but overcast with a chance of some showers as this Sunday game is about to begin. Miami's lineup brought to you by UHealth Sports Medicine.
D. Gordon, career numbers versus Ryan Vogelsong, 333 with 36 at-bats, 12 hits. Look at it, he's already hit for the cycle against him. Doubles, triples, homers, 4 RBIs, followed by Martin Prado, Christian Yelich, Marcell Ozuna in the cleanup spot. JT Realmuto will be behind the plate again with a day off tomorrow. And Ichiro Suzuki will be in right field. Xavier Scruggs at first base. Adaney back in the lineup. At shortstop, David Phelps hitting ninth.
Ryan Vogelsong for the Pirates. This is a guy that really has had a fascinating career. He's a Pennsylvania native, 39-year-old. 5 starts. His season cut short a bit by a hit by pitch. He got hit in the face, actually had to have facial surgery, but has bounced back and takes the ball here with a nice ERA of 3.20.
He has, and as we said in the opening, he will mix his pitches early. Doesn't have that overpowering fastball. One thing he has to be able to do is hit his spots. First inning is a really good inning to be able to get him.
Southwest Airlines brings you the Pirates defensively. In the outfield, Marte, McCutchen, Polanco have had a really nice defensive series. Saved that one error by McCutchen. Freeze and young Josh Bell on the corners. Harrison and Sean Rodriguez, Miami native, up the middle. And it's Eric Fryer behind the plate. And it's D. Gordon at the plate with Martin Prado and Christian Yelich to follow. Vogelsong takes aim at the fish. Miami going for a sweep, trying to get win number 65 on the season. And Gordon flips that one to left center field. And it's Marte who's there, and he makes the catch. One pitch and an out. And here comes Martin Prado. So there are guys that have a history. You saw Gordon's numbers against Vogelsong. Prado has amassed 27 at bats, has 6 hits. And there is strike one.
You see the velocity on Vogelsong, 88 miles per hour. After D. Gordon swinging at the first pitch of the game, he knows, Martin Prado knows the game real well, was taking all the way. Tries to just let one right over the plate.
Vogelsong dips low with that fastball. Chris Conroy calling balls and strikes with Jerry Meals, Paul Nauert, Ron Kopa on the bases. Yes, those are throwbacks back into the 70s, the stove-top caps and the multicolored uniforms.
Something's missing on the caps, though. Something that Major League Baseball did not allow this time around with the uniforms. Back in the 70s, late 70s, they used to have stars on them also for personal achievements.
Taking a page out of college football that used to do that in the 60s, 70s, still does some places. There you go. Yeah, they were a rollicking group, those Buccos in the 70s.
Remember Pops? Willie Stargell was the one, if I'm not mistaken, the one that used to be able to give out the stars to the players.
Prado drills one left center field and deep. McCutchen in full flight, dives, and he got it. Unbelievable. And there's 2 outs.
Well, Andrew McCutchen covering a lot of ground here and a lot of question marks. would he be the one moving to left field and starting Marte to center field because of the athleticism and speed of Marte? But wow, he's playing in right center field, laying out. Yesterday, he missed an easy one that he would catch 9 out of 10 times. This time, spectacular play. Again, Martin Prado, the victim of the great outfield of the Pirates.
Here's Yelich. And Yelich takes a strike. McCutchen last night robbed Ozuna of a hit. And of course, in game 1, you had the great throws from the corner outfielders, Marte and Polanco, that both threw runners out at the plate. And a strike. And it's 0-2. Yelich, 3 hits, a homer, and he's driven in 2 in this series. Yelich cracks one to center. McCutchen going back at the wall. McCutchen leaps. Gone! Dead central. A jump there by McCutchen, but not enough. And Christian Yelich has given Miami a 1-0 lead.
Ryan Vogelsong with 2 strikes, leaving this pitch right down the middle, up in the zone against Christian Yelich. Not overpowering fastball. Tough to get it by a good hitter like Christian. You see in the upper third of the quadrant of the Fox tracks. And Andrew McCutchen playing a shallow center field. Doesn't have the hops to get over that 8-foot fence.
You almost expected him to do that, though.
You expected him, but you see how the ball keeps drifting during the day. Ball carries a lot more than at night. Wind's blowing out a little bit. See that slow curveball there against Marcell Ozuna. That's what Ryan Vogelsong is going to have to do to get through this Marlins lineup. The fastball is just not going to get it done.
1-1 to Ozuna, and it's out. And the maturation of Christian Yelich continues. A career high now, 15 homers. He's driven in 72, and it's his 2nd homer of the series. And he likes it here. Just his 12th game at PNC. Ozuna pops that one foul and out of play. And so the Marlins have a run here in the first.
One thing they've been doing with Marcell all series long, so far 1 for 9. They've started him away all the time. He's been taking some pitches there, but he's also been getting calls. And once he starts looking away, they try to bust him in late.
Ozuna takes out, and they count full now at 3-2. Little dribbler. Vogelsong has it, fires high to first. He's safe. Bell came up, snow coned the catch, and when he tagged Ozuna, it looked like Marcell was on the bag.
Yeah, Ryan Vogelsong will be the first one to tell you he should have made a better throw. But the footwork of Josh Bell, he's stretched out before the throw even comes. You see how that left foot is out in front? There, you have to read. You have to have both feet even. That way, you're able to go up and right back down. Instead, he's leaning forward and trying to jump up, giving the error to the throw. But the footwork of Josh Bell is what made that play safe.
JT Realmuto now, and the inning gets a little longer for Vogelsong. Ozuna at first. Realmuto to right in the corner. Polanco, and it is off the wall. It's a fair ball. To third is Ozuna, and he'll hold there. And the Marlins have second and third. Not sure if Marcell Ozuna stopped at third or if he didn't get a clean jump. Here's a look.
Yeah, right here, two outs, you're running all the way. The ball was in the air a long time. You're thinking, okay, there's going to be a play at the plate. He's going to score. But watch Marcell rounding second. He stops. He's looking back. You got to keep going, kid. You have that with 2 outs. There's no reason Marcell Ozuna shouldn't be trying to get thrown out at the plate. Little miscommunication right there. A break for the Pirates. Now you have runners at second and third.
Ichiro now. Outfield shallow towards left center, and Ichiro takes ball 1. Well, you're right about that. You could clearly see Ozuna taking a direct line to third, which meant he wasn't thinking about a turn and slowing up. Whether he thought it was caught or foul or out, that's a question for the postgame. And a strike to Ichiro. All right, here's an oddity. Ichiro against Vogelsong, 13 at bats, 0 for 13.
Well, the due factor is in effect. Due to get a hit sooner or later.
And it would be a big one, that's for sure. Especially coming off of that Real Muto double. Ichiro flips it left field, and it's caught there by Marte. The Marlins get 1. Probably could have had 2, but they'll settle for that. And Jose Urena gets the ball. Christian Yelich goes out to center. And Miami's on the board first. Yelich, home run number 15. And on this Sunday, here come the Pirates, brought to you by UHealth Sports Medicine.
Well, Josh Harrison will be leading off. Yesterday had 3 hits. So far with a 6-game hitting streak, hitting .407 during that streak, with Starling Marte and the rest of the outfield crew following him. McCutchen and Polanco, David Freese at third base. Josh Bell gets the start at first. Sean Rodriguez will be at shortstop, and Eric Fryer behind the plate. Ryan Vogelsong pitching, hitting 9th.
Jose Urena would like to scrub that first inning in Cincinnati out of the memory banks and out of the record books, because outside of that he pitched well, but the grand slam to Tucker Barnhart and that 5-run first, Miami never could recover, and a fastball misses at 96. Josh Harrison, Starling Marte, Andrew McCutchen for the Pirates, and another fastball misses. He's missed up and he's missed down. Boy, pitch number 1 was a strike. That one is drilled left center field. Ozuna calling and catching in that corner. That's a long way. That's about a 405-foot out off the bat of Harrison.
Yeah, that's Death Valley here at PNC Park. The biggest left center field in all of the game baseball. We're looking at 410 left center field. Your right-handed hitter, Francisco Cervelli, knows this corner really well. Hit won the first game of the series, thought it was a home run. He said, that's all I had. Josh Harrison unloading on a 2-0 pitch.
Starling Marte now. And Urania misses in. Marte 3 hits. A double and an RBI in the series. Last night, of course, David Phelps was just terrific. Marte was 0 for 4 in that ball game. Phelps a career high 9 strikeouts, 6 scoreless innings, gave up just 2 hits. He really kept the big bats at bay. Polanco 0 for 4, Freese 0 for 4, McCutchen 0 for 4, Marte 0 for 4. Count 2-1. So Miami is hopeful that Urania can continue the good starting pitching in this series. That one fouled at the plate. Of course, you had Tom Kohler, who went 6 innings as well on Friday night and gave up just 2 runs. Miami won that ball game 6-5. Bouncer to third. Prado gets that momentum going across the diamond and throws out Marte. Miami's defense on this Sunday. Brought to you by Southwest. In the outfield, Yelich, Ozuna, Ichiro, a 2nd straight start of the series. Martin Prado, Xavier Scruggs on the corner. Echeverria is back in there. D. Gordon's at 2nd. And JT Realmuto getting the start here. McCutchen. Right now, one of the mysteries surrounding this baseball team in Pittsburgh is this guy. 17 homers, 51 RBIs, but the average down, the on base is way down. Clint Hurdle has been able to plug McCutchen into the lineup and get great numbers. But this season, a bump in the road.
You know what the first thing I'd do next year going into spring training? Biggest adjustment I'd make is I'd put Andrew McCutchen in left field and put Starling Marte in center field. Take a little bit of pressure off McCutchen's legs.
There's a liner to left. And McCutchen has got a base hit, a 2-out single.
Just a smaller frame out there in center field, a lot more duties for him to do. Doesn't steal a lot of bases anymore, even though he has been more aggressive in the last couple weeks.
He's 29, and of course a Florida native, Fort Meade, Florida. He's been the face of this franchise now for 8 years. Polanco stands in, the youngest of this outfield trio at 24. Rips one to right. Ichiro there, and he makes the catch. Polanco hit it well, but Jose Urania gets through that first. It's 1-0 Miami. presenting sponsor of Miami Marlins baseball. PNC Park, gorgeous setting. Marlins have an interesting history here. A long time they couldn't win here. Then they had a run of 3 or 4 years where they did. Last 3 years or so, not so much. Xavier Scruggs takes a strike. But Miami, importantly, has won the first 2 games of this 3-game series. Scruggs has been a part of that. His 3rd start. Fastball for a strike. And it's 0-2. Coors Light, cold hard fact, 3-game sweep. Last one, 2011. And then after that, 11 of 12 until the win Friday night. Marlins had dropped. Scruggs fouls it back to the screen. Bordo, what have you seen from the 2 days of the Xavier Scruggs era?
Not chasing pitches out of the zone, which is one thing you have to like. Aggressive. So far appears in the last 2 games to use the entire field, low ball hitter. See how the Pirates attack him right here.
With a fastball in. First inning, a home run by Christian Yelich. A double by JT Realmuto. And an off-speed pitch that misses out. Danny Echeverria, Jose Urena scheduled as well in the 2nd. Struck him out. Scruggs didn't like it. But Vogelsong gets a strikeout.
We see where the pitch was down out of the zone. I mean, Jose Urena was throwing pitches in the zone that were a little bit higher, and Chris Conway was not giving it to him. That pitch is way too low, way under the knees.
And the Marlin bench reacted immediately. Here's Echeverria. Got a breaking ball, sends it out into center. McCutchen in full flight is there and makes the catch.
Well, this is the AutoNation scouting report for Ryan Vogelsong. Scary moment late in May 23rd. He got hit in the face by a fastball by the Rockies. That was a scary moment here in Pittsburgh, and for Ryan, but was able to bounce back. Odd names. Octorara High School, Kutztown State College. That's odd right there, huh? And the Pits, 6-16 with a 5.77 ERA in 61 games here at PNC Park.
Yeah, and wearing the throwbacks for him has to feel pretty comfortable growing up in Pennsylvania and having pitched with the Pirates in an earlier era from 2001 to 2006.
And the road that he's taken, he's played for 2 major league organizations with the Pirates and the Giants, and he's played with 2 Japanese organizations also. The Hanshin Tigers played for 2 years, also played for the Orange Buffaloes for a year.
And his baseball card and resume and baseball reference page has a lot of cities on it. Urena swings and misses and strikes out. Marlins go down in order. Jose Urena back on the mound here in Pittsburgh.
that have had an impact for the franchise throughout the course of its history, but there are 4 players in particular who are immortalized outside of PNC Park. That would be Bill Mazeroski, Willie Stargell, Roberto Clemente, and right behind me, Honus Wagner. As a Pirate, Wagner was a 5-time stolen bases leader. He was an NL batting champion 8 times, and he won a World Series with the Pirates back in 1909. Guys, this is certainly a player that you wish you could have seen play in person.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, some of the names like that you just read about, you see some maybe some black and white footage, or if just something from a 1900 Sporting News. If was the Sporting News even around in 1900?
I don't think so, but did you collect baseball cards?
A few.
Please tell me you did not put one of those Honus Wagner baseball cards in your bike.
No.
No? Good. Talk about the most expensive baseball card out there. Look it up, guys. Number 33 of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Number 23 of the Pittsburgh Pirates is David Freese. Josh Bell, Sean Rodriguez to follow. And Urena with a fastball up. Now, the scouting report on Urena, we've already discussed this, is he's got to live down in the zone to have success.
But David Freese, dead low ball hitter. That's why you saw that first pitch up in the zone. And if you're going to mix in anything down, you try to keep it really at the bottom half of the zone, not in the strike zone. Try to get him to chase low.
What's the best pitch that Jose Urena throws?
It's fastball. It's his fastball. It has late life, late movement, a well-located and placed fastball.
Like that.
Now, you see the late movement on it? That was two-seam, 96 miles per hour. Watch where it starts. See me now, inner quadrant, whoop, disappear.
It almost has the action of one of those power changeups that you see a King Felix. Henderson Alvarez used to throw that when he was healthy.
And anytime you see a hitter swing on top and miss of a baseball, that's some good sink. That's a sinker.
Marlins saw Josh Bell briefly yesterday. Just brought up from AAA. The injury to Jung Ho Kang. And he sends one up the middle. Gordon gets to it. And gets him by less than half a step. It was close. Bell can run. You can celebrate Ichiro's 3,000th hit on Sunday, September 25th at 1. Join us as we recognize the milestone with a commemorative bat offer. Purchase a special event ticket. Get one of only 3,000 limited edition Mizuno full-size bats. For terms and conditions, visit marlins.com/Ichiro. Ichiro hanging out in right field in this one. Sean Rodriguez, a Miami guy, with 2 outs. Now, I know it is a throwback day, but I don't think they had those shoes going. I don't remember Bill Madlock kicking around in those.
No. Back in the day, you're looking at the Spalding shoes. You look at the leather top, all black.
The Pirates actually, people talk about the Reds and what a great 70s the Reds had. Reds won what, 2 World Series in the 70s?
75, 76, went to 4 World Series total.
Pirates won 2 World Series in the 70s, 71, 79. And they and the Reds had quite a few tussles. In 1979, the Pirates beat the Baltimore Orioles 4-3, winning in Baltimore on a chilly October night, 4-1 in Game 7. Rodriguez swings and misses, and Urena gets a pair of strikeouts here. 2 innings in Pittsburgh. It's 1-0 Miami. and the all-new RAV4 give you an inside look. Oh, you wanted a throwback? Here we go. How about some Barry Bonds back in 1985 out of Arizona State? He was the 6th overall pick. And of course, he had some nice years, some great years here in Pittsburgh. Obviously, he's been back here before many times as a San Francisco Giant, but this is his first trip in as a hitting coach with Miami. Top of the order against Ryan Vogelsong. D. Gordon takes a couple of strikes, and there still are some Bonds jerseys in and around Pittsburgh. 7 years a Pirate before 15 years a Giant. Two of his MVPs came as a Pirate.
90 and 92, right?
Yes. Ball gets loose. Gordon running for first, and he's out. So a strikeout for Vogelsong.
It's a nice drop by Eric Fryer, not panicking at all. Ball gets away from him, doesn't rush it, knows there's a lot of speed. Makes sure he gets the ball well, and accurate throw to Josh Bell.
Of course, for the those last 3 years that Bonds was here, those were bittersweet years, because the Pirates would get to the postseason in 90, in 91, and 92, and lose in the National League Championship Series all 3 seasons.
Is that the Atlanta game where Francisco Cabrera gets that base hit? And was it Barry in left field that had to throw out Sid Bream at the plate?
I believe it was. That was in 92.
I just remember Sid Bream with that brace, hobbling around third, headed home.
Atlanta actually scored 3 runs in the 9th inning of that one. Prado drives this one to left. He was already robbed out there by McCutchen, and it's Marte who scoots over and makes the catch. So 2 outs, and here's Yelich, who blasted one straightaway center for his 15th homer of the season.
You know, there are teams when they go into series where they say there's one guy they identify, this is the guy that's not going to beat me. Well, the Pittsburgh Pirates, I think, failed to identify Christian Yelich as the guy. So far, he's had a very good series here and has continued this game going straight away center field. They're challenging him, and he's been able to come through every time.
Yelich earlier this week was talking about some of the adjustments he made to his swing. Barry Bonds and Don Mattingly suggesting a few tweaks. He's implemented it, and he feels it has helped him. Change up, strike 3 called. Vogelsong all of a sudden has retired 7 straights. Top of the Pirates, bottom of the third. Chris Conroy working behind home plate. Bringing Christian Yelich up.
Yeah, this is a strike 3 to Xavier Scruggs. This ball's out of the zone. This ball's down. There's no coming back from that. You look back and you're like, come on, really? And then Christian Yelich, knowing the strike zone really well, this ball's out of the zone also. You know, I know you have a veteran pitcher on the mound, and sometimes you're going to get inconsistencies from umpires, but if you're going to be inconsistent out of the zone, do it both ways. First hitter of the game, which was Josh Harrison for the Pirates, missed 2 pitches. And that can't happen. You're going to be bad both ways. Not obviously on one side, and yes, it's the 3rd inning, but it's something that's already been noticeable. And boy, do I feel much better saying that, because it's a relief to be able to see it early and pinpoint it, because then you'll see the frustration from the dugout later on in the game. It's a pattern that you have to keep watching. That pitch right there, that's the same pitch for Christian Yelich, and it's called the ball now.
Same spot.
You look at the same spot, same everything.
Eric Fryer.
Where's that pitch? And that's the frustration that now the Marlins dugout and Don Mattingly will have. That ball hits the corner. Urena has to live low in order to be effective. Now he's forcing him to come up in the zone and give you a hittable pitch.
Full count, 3-2. Fryer, Ryan Vogelsong, and top of the order, Josh Harrison. And Urena with a foul tip. Kansas City on Tuesday at Marlins Park. The Royals are red hot right now. And that fastball misses in. And the Royals series, which starts on Tuesday, is a 3-gamer. Wednesday is a Chevron Crazy 8 Wednesday. You fill up your car with Chevron with Techron gasoline. Bring your receipt to the Marlins Park ticket office. Choose between 2 Lexus Legends level tickets or 1 home plate box ticket for just $28. Visit your local Chevron dealer today. Vogelsong trying to bunt, and he fouls that first pitch. So a leadoff walk to the 8th hitter. Vogelsong, an 0 for 6 this season. You see the face guard that he's got coming off the hit by pitch. Got hit in the face. It was back in May. And he has that one up and in. I don't know if it hit him or not. He's down. And let's take a look. Oh, hit the bat. That's a foul ball.
See how close he has his face right there, eye level, trying to get that ball down. Urena's ball tails hard in. That has to be a scary moment for Ryan Vogelsong. After what happened to him in May 23rd of this year against the Rockies, to all of a sudden see that happen again. Oh, that's close. I had one hit me in my left eye at one time trying to bunt also an A ball. You don't recover from that. That's a scar that you have in your memories.
But thankfully it didn't hit him. And the count now 0-2.
There's no way Clint Hurdle will tell him to bunt here, right? With 0-2 count.
There he is.
Oh my.
What? And he bunts it. Wow. Nicely too. And Urena gets the out at first.
Listen to the crowd. I don't blame him. That is why Ryan Vogelsong has been able to persevere through his failures early on, trying to latch on at the major league level, going to Japan, coming back, and then have this happen to him.
Now Harrison. As Urania trying to pitch around the walk to Fryer. Harrison flied to center. Then you've got Marte. And that's the perils of walking the number 8 hitter. You got the big bats coming up. Christian Yelich homer, the only run of the ball game. And Urania misses in. It's 2-1. Pirates at 62 and 58. The Marlins, the Pirates, Cardinals, the Mets, all trying to chase down a wild card spot. And with the 2 wins here, the Marlins have leaped in front of the Pirates. The Fish are a game and a half back of St. Louis. St. Louis in the 2 spot, and it's the Dodgers who sit right on top. Dodgers are half a game behind the Giants in the West, so the Giants are involved as well. Busted bat. Urania catches, and the throw ends up in Gordon's glove behind the bag.
Again, look good late life right there on the fastball to Josh Harrison. Harrison having a really solid series, barreling up baseballs on pitches outer on the outside part of the strike zone. This time goes hard in and gets him.
Marte bounced to Prado back in the first. Eric Fryer, the catcher, is at second. What Pittsburgh's trying to do is have a surge like they had last year. Under Clint Hurdle, they've had some pretty good second halves to get themselves into postseason contention. You know, it's funny that they've here in Pittsburgh, they've been in 3 consecutive wild card games, but over the last 3 years coming into this season, they had the second best winning percentage in all of baseball.
Yeah, they won 98 games last season. This is a team that.
It's a short. Echeverria on to first. Nicely done by Urania to pitch around the leadoff walk. 1-0 Miami. into the postseason is turn it around in the second half of years. You can see they had some strong first halves, but from 13, 14, and 15, look at what they did in the second half after the All-Star break, especially 14, and then last year 45 and 29 in the second half, just 16 and 15 right now. The Marlins in the second half are 17 and 18 at this point. Marcell Ozuna, JT Realmuto, and Ichiro. Ryan Vogelsong bounces one for ball one. Sixth season as the Pirates manager. Clint Hurdle, of course, managed the Rockies into the World Series. Ozuna reached on the error by Vogelsong back in the first. And probably would like a do-over on Realmuto's fly ball down the right field line. With 2 outs, Ozuna at first. He rounded second and then slowed up coming into third on a ball that he probably would have had a chance to score on. There's a strike on a changeup. He counts 2-1.
They've done that against Marcell. Every time he's ahead in the count, they go off speed. When they go with a fastball, they go outside corner early.
Bouncer to short. It's Rodriguez out there. And he throws Ozuna out.
And this is why the Pirates are going out every time against Marcell, because this pitch, when he's going well, he drives it into the right center gap. See him pulling off a little bit, ends up getting the ground ball.
Realmuto's double actually climbed the wall down the line. It's 320 down the right field line, and the wall is appropriately 21 feet high in honor of the former right fielder here, some guy named Clemente. That's 24 doubles now for Realmuto. If you look at his numbers, he's having just a very, very good offensive year, an excellent one. In fact, his on base is well over 350. He's slugging around 420. And what many feel in the organization around baseball should be his rookie year. Last year, the clock got turned up a bit. And to see him respond like this in year 2 is very, very encouraging. Pulls that grounder to the left of Freeze. Let's find out where Jessica Blaylock is. Jess?
I have made my way up to Club 3000, which celebrates the 30 players in Major League Baseball that have achieved the milestone of 3,000 hits or more throughout the course of their career. As far as Pirates go, they have 3 members. They're right over here on the wall. Roberto Clemente, Paul Waner, and of course, Honus Wagner. A familiar name now for Marlins fans as far as Club 3000 goes. That would be Ichiro, who reached that milestone back on August 7th in Colorado with that stand-up triple. His name has now been added to the list. So if you have a chance to make it to PNC Park, head up to Club 3000 and say hello to Ichiro, the newest member.
How sweet is that? That's a pretty quick turnaround, too. Ichiro lined to left his first time up. Vogelsong has yet to give up any of the 3008 hits.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah, 0 for 14 against Vogelsong.
Doesn't he want to be part of history?
No, he's 2 away from Boggs now.
He can get closer, can help him out right here.
Pitches out. 2-2. The Yelich homer in the first, the only run of this ball game.
pitch Vogelson long, and see him walking out of the mound. Number 5 hitting the bottom corner of that zone.
He's been getting that pitch.
And then some.
And he probably should have gotten that one. The 3-2. It's down low. And Ichiro walks. And you can hear Vogelsong angry on the mound. So it looks like Chris Conroy's strike zone is moving a bit. Early, Urena had trouble getting some pitches. And Vogelsong got a couple. But in that sequence, Vogelsong didn't get the one that was in the zone. And he missed low for ball 4.
As far as Vogelsong's concerned, he wants consistency from Conroy. Was getting it earlier in the game. All of a sudden, with a veteran hitter of Ichiro, does not get it.
And this was a hitter in which he did get one on the strikeout of Scruggs. That was back in the 2nd.
And almost the same situation as yesterday. Ichiro getting on with a double, and then Scruggs coming in with the home run with 2 outs in the inning in the 4th. See if history repeats itself.
Scruggs, the 28-year-old out of Poway, California. Played his college ball at UNLV. Climbed up the Cardinal ladder and got to the big leagues in 2014, 2015, but for just 57 at-bats. And the home run the other night, his first in the big leagues. That one right on the edge, the outside corner. And he got him. Vogelsong strikes out Scruggs. A tight one here in Pittsburgh. 1-0 Miami. Florida is brought to you by the all-new 2017 Chrysler Pacifica. By Checkers, fast foodies know the deal. And by Subaru of Pembroke Pines, price, service, selection. You're gonna love us. Out on the Allegheny. Very near the confluence. That's creative. How about that? Flag on Broom. Marlins hopeful. It's a really big swing game. When you sweep a 3-game series and you're in a race, that'll help you immensely. Ball and a strike to Andrew McCutchen. Gregory Polanco, David Freese for the Pirates. McCutchen a line drive single to left. His first time up, and he cracks another one out there. Same spot, same swing.
Yeah, his swing has been really quick on the inside part. Marina continues to get that fastball to run in on him. And it actually works to the advantage of McCutchen the way he's been swinging in and out of the zone quickly. That's the best chance he has to barrel up the baseball.
Now Polanco, who lined one into the gap in right center, and Ichiro ran it down. McCutchen not running nearly as much as he did earlier in his career.
But he has been able to pick it up as of late. The last 2 weeks has been more aggressive on the base path. It was to a point where he wasn't even attempting. He was a non-factor on the bases.
That one foul back. Let's flash back. Gregory Polanco, Pirates fish, and this was liftoff against Jose Urena. And that was a grand slam, and of course it was the grand slam that hurt Urena in Cincinnati in his last start. Drilled to right, and that one is gone. No, it's off the top of the wall. Ichiro has it, fires it in, holding his McCutchen. I think Polanco thought it was gone. I thought it was gone. Even McCutchen was surprised.
When you look at what Ichiro did, give him a lot of credit right here. He sort of deked a lot of guys. This ball hit maybe 19 feet up on the 21-foot Clemente wall. It's right off the wall. He turns around, and once that ball gets by him. But Polanco thought this ball was out of here. He wasn't even hustling out of the box. You see, with one hand up, then he puts it on. Same with McCutchen. I'll tell you one thing the runners are not doing is doing their job, putting their head down and going and running as hard as you can. A lot of assuming going on with that wall.
David Freese now. Freese struck out in the second. Quite honestly, it fooled me, having watched the reaction of the hitter, of McCutchen, and even of Ichiro, and the ball in flight. Pitch misses in. This is the camera from above where you get to see all the runners. Look at McCutchen.
Yeah, you see McCutchen right here. He just breaks it down right here. Same thing with Polanco. He sees it on his own.
Freeze a bouncer to third. Prado can't get it. The game is tied, and the Pirates have him at the corner. And I think maybe Prado tried to do a little too much with that.
Well, it's pretty wet in front of the dirt in front of the plate. So the ball hits dirt, and Martin, thinking home plate on it, charges the ball as quickly as he can. This is a play he usually makes on the short hop. Doesn't make it. Now you have runners in the corners with no outs. They'll give him an error on the play.
And an RBI because McCutchen was running on contact. Now here's the switch hitting youngster Josh Bell. His first career homer was a pinch hit grand slam. And in AAA, he's having a big year. 114 games, had 23 doubles, 14 homers, hit .295, drove in 60. Pirate box score, McCutchen the 2-line drive singles. Polanco's double. To the left, Yelich has to go back. Polanco will tag. Holding first is Freeze, and the Pirates have a 2-1 lead.
Really nice job of hitting by Josh Bell. Hitting the ball the other way, getting the runner in. Doing his job instead of trying to pull it. Uses the big part of the ballpark.
Sean Rodriguez now. Rodriguez, a guy that can play everywhere. And of course, that's one of the things that endeared him to the Tampa Bay Rays. So here in the National League, here in Pittsburgh, Clint Hurdle has always liked versatile guys. That's how Josh Harrison first got playing time and at bats.
John Rodriguez hitting for a lot more power this season. We're looking at 12 home runs, hitting .250.
He's slugging .502.
Just over 200 at-bats. This is a guy that last year, Clint Hurdle started him in that wild card game at first base, and the Pirates gave up a lot of runs early, and he never had the opportunity to swing the bat. Hurdle pinch hit for him early in the game. Looking for more offense, giving up the defense. One of his most embarrassing moments when you talk to him as a professional athlete, not being able to swing the bat in the postseason. Pinch hit for early.
Two. Ichiro with room. And he makes the catch. A much needed off day tomorrow for Miami, and then back on Tuesday for a Twitter Tuesday, and it's the Royals. Royals and Marlins. South Florida Ford drives Twitter and email Tuesday, 6:30 start for Marlins Live. And Kansas City is just smoking hot. The team and the temperature I would expect this time of year. 7 straight the Royals have won. 12 of 14 they've won. Alex Gordon had 2 homers yesterday.
It's a well-balanced team. Once you get Eric Hosmer, product out of Miami, swinging the bat well, Lorenzo Cain, and then Alex Gordon, which finally, as you said, swinging it, because earlier on in the season he mightily struggled with the average and with injuries.
Kansas City home against Minnesota, whom they've pounded so far in that series. Bouncer third, and Prado can't get that one. It's by him into left. Boy, Martin Prado has been so good all year. In terms of fielding percentage, he's been either at or near the top of the list for third baseman. And he's just kicked 2 here in the inning.
Yeah, this one he plays it right with the feet. Only thing was that last hop. Looks like it hit a divot or something from all the running around that area. Ball skipped up past his glove. Good news is you have Ryan Vogelsong up at the plate. Bad news is you have 2 runners on, and you lose the opportunity of having Vogelsong leading off the next inning.
Vogelsong a sacrifice bunt in the third. Well, it opened with a McCutchen single. The Polanco ball off the top of the wall in right center. Prado mishandled the freeze ground ball. The Pirates have 2 here in the 4th. Vogelsong fouls it back. As expected, busy day in Major League Baseball. The Cardinals have scored first in Philly. A game to watch. That's top 4. Both the Marlins and the Pirates are interested in that. 2-0 St. Louis, top 4 in Philly. Cardinals have that number 2 wild card spot. Marlins are a game and a half back, and Pittsburgh 2 back. If you ask who has the best record in baseball, the Cubs sit at 78 wins. But you know what? The Nationals aren't that far behind. The Nationals have 73 wins. There's a swing and a miss. And the inning is over. Morena gives up 2. And the Marlins will try to bounce back in the 5th. Let's check in with Jessica Blaylock. Jess?
Allegheny River. Now, a bunch of home runs have landed on the concourse and then gone into the river. But as far as balls that have been hit on the fly, only 3 have landed in the Allegheny. One that was hit by Pedro Alvarez. How about this? It didn't land in the water. It actually landed in a boat. That is pretty impressive to know that 3 balls have been hit on the fly and landed in the Allegheny River.
All right, thank you, Jess.
Now, is she able to get back in the ballpark? Because, if I'm not mistaken, I didn't see any of her credentials on her.
Yeah, I think there's a no re-entry policy.
You know what? I'm going to first catch my breath because I just ran out here. I don't know if you could tell that I was a little bit out of breath when I was doing that hit. If you want to know the 2 other players that have hit balls here on the fly, it's Pedro Alvarez, it's Darryl Ward, and it's Garrett Jones. Now that I've had a chance to catch my breath, I can let you in on that little bit of information too, guys.
So wait a minute, you were running? Is that
I was running out here. I was running.
Do you have sensible shoes to run in?
Yes, I wore my running shoes today. I don't know if you can zoom in on these, but these are typically what I go for a run in, so it all worked out perfectly.
That's a veteran move by you.
It's not one of my finer moments.
Look at her running.
Oh, very nice.
Hey, anything to make the show happen, right? Even if I am literally panting as I'm talking. What are you going to do?
Hey, Jess, let's talk about what's going on out there in the water. We've got kayakers. There's usually a bike rental place there. The path is so popular that not only goes by PNC Park, but also Heinz Field.
That is correct. Yeah, looks like there's maybe a little bit of a party going on this boat right here. Is that the case, guys? But they look like Pirates fans. You mind if I come and hang out for a little bit? I need to catch my breath after running out here.
She is getting on the boat.
All right, guys. I'm calling it. I'm tired. This has been a busy weekend.
Get yourself a cold one.
You guys have the game under control. You guys have any bottles of water or any beverages I can enjoy while I'm out there? You got some sunscreen? Yeah, we got a party going on out here. You guys enjoy the game. I'm done.
All right, we'll check in with you just to be safe in about a half an hour.
Yeah, make sure I show up for the plane ride home.
Nice. All right, Sean Rodriguez throw handcuffed Josh Bell. Echeverria is on. And now Urena in a position to try to bunt Echeverria to second. And he takes down low. Urena struck out back in the second inning. Back in the first inning, that's when the Marlins got both their hits. A home run by Yelich and a double by JT Realmuto.
Jose Urena right here. This is a sacrifice bunt. He attempted to bunt, and then right when he was about to stab at the baseball, which he shouldn't be doing, it's more catching it, he was already coming out of the batter's box. No reason to do that. You're sacrificing yourself. Let's lay it down, focus on that part, and try to get Josh Bell to field this baseball. There, that's a nice job.
And Bell has to field it and throws to first in time. Urena,
he can get down the line.
I was just about to say, he could pick him up and set him down.
A future pinch runner here in Urena. Right there, puts the bat head down. Josh Bell comes charging in, but no chance. If you can execute this play, there's no way to mess it up. Speedster.
These two teams have already combined for 4 errors in this game. Marlins have 2, Pirates have 2, and they're 2 of the better fielding teams in the National League. Gordon is lined out and struck out. D1 for 12 in this series.
Saw those numbers against Vogelsong. Most hits versus any pitcher he's faced, 12. Only 3 strikeouts in that amount of at-bats.
D sets it down, third base side, gorgeous bunt. Vogelsong has to eat it, and Gordon has himself a hit. And that sets up the Prado at bat with 1 out.
When you talk about a player that wants to make amends to his errors, it's Martin Prado coming up. Fundamentally great bunt. Doesn't matter. David Freese playing even with the bag. He deadened it perfectly. Catches it on the end of the bat and lets his legs do what my legs have never been able to do. Put him up and put him down that fast.
All right, a couple things here. Gordon obviously is an accomplished base stealer. Prado's hit into more double plays than anybody in the National League. And Vogelsong last year did not have a caught stealing. Runners were 10 of 10. This year, 2 of 3.
You give him 1 strike. You're Martin Prado. You can afford to give D. Gordon 1 strike because Ryan Vogelsong isn't a swing and miss type pitcher. That being said, Martin Prado will be looking for 1 pitch, and with runners in scoring position, no one is better than Martin Prado right now, dressed in uniform in this ballpark.
Ball in the dirt. Interesting watching Josh Bell hold Gordon at first. Rarely do you see a first baseman come off this far with a base stealer on first.
Yeah, so watch what D does. He shadows bell the entire way.
Gordon runs, big jump. Fryer's throw is not in time. He steals the bag. Rodriguez keeps the ball from getting into center field. And the count to Martin Prado is a ball and a strike.
Excellent all-around D going early, second pitch of the at-bat. And that's the strike that we were talking about. Martin Prado took the entire way. You put pressure now on the Pirates and Ryan Vogelsong. Infield has to play back. They're winning by 1. Go ahead, run at second base.
Prado hit a searing liner that was caught on a spectacular McCutchen catch in the first, and then flied to left in the third. Either of those balls would score a run here. Grounder third base. Echeverria comes home. Gordon's going to third, and he'll get there with a slide. Nicely done by everyone involved. Prado to put it in play. Etch going on initial contact, and Gordon sensing that Freese was away from the bag.
Love what Atlanta did at third base. Watch him on the far left of your screen. Contact is made, did not hesitate. Does not allow David Freese to have a play at the plate. D waiting for the throw. David Freese decides to get the out. Now 2 outs, and you have Christian Yelich at the plate, which has been swinging a very good bat.
Solo homer, called out on strikes his last time up. And a breaking ball misses in.
I just do not see Ryan Vogelsong giving Christian Yelich anything good to hit.
Pirates like to shift a lot, but for Yelich, they're pretty much straight up. Little bit towards left field side is McCutchen.
Wow, I'm impressed he went there. 1-0 fastball, down and away. His fastball 87 miles per hour. Christian probably looking for something middle in. Cutting the plate in half, giving that to Vogelsong early on in the count.
Gordon's at third.
That was strike 3 earlier on.
It was. That's the area in which Yelich was rung up. In fact, that's almost the exact same spot.
That was it right there. Chris Conroy, at least, give him credit. He has come back to his normal self.
Two 2-1. Vogelsong goes out there again. He's being cautious with Yelich. He's got Ozuna on deck. Marcel's 0 for 2.
This is where Vogelsong, if Christian Yelich has been paying attention, goes to the changeup 3-1. Behind the count, trying to feed off the aggressiveness. There's no way with an 87, 88 mile per hour fastball, he's going to go right down the middle.
Changeup, and he missed out. So good call by you, and a good eye by Yelich. And I think Vogelsong would rather face Ozuna in this spot, even though Marcel has had a good road trip. In this series, though, he's 1 for 11.
Well, it's a game of adjustments. It's time now for Marcel to make those adjustments. The Pirates have been pitching him away, and when they're behind the count, they've gone to the slider. Something that Marcel is a good hitter with pitches inside, good hitter, pitches up in the zone. The Pirates have been able to stay down and away, and that's what Vogelsong most likely will try to attempt.
The infield playing Ozuna to pull. Big hole right side. Yelich bluffs. Pitch gets away, and here comes Gordon, and he scores. Not sure if Yelich's bluff caught the attention of Eric Fryer. But as it is, the ball gets by.
And you saw the head of Fryer look up right before the ball hits ground, looking up. And yes, it did catch the attention of him. But this is why he bluffs. He bluffs to see if there's going to be coverage up the middle. You saw Harrison break towards second base, and that will allow the Marlins coaching staff to know what play they can put on with runners at first and third. It's a design play to see what the defense is going to do up the middle. Beautifully done, poorly executed by Eric Fryer behind the plate.
Of course, D. Gordon with speed all over. A bunt single, a stolen base, took third on a throw. Scores on a wild pitch, and Ozuna busts his bat, rolls it to short. Rodriguez to first in time, and the inning is over. But the Marlins charge back, put 2 on the board, and lead it 3-2. Is the presenting sponsor of Miami Marlins baseball. In beautiful Pittsburgh, the Marlins have a 3-2 lead halfway through in a game that you get a sense is going to go back and forth a little bit more before it's done. Marlins a lead on a Yelich homer. Pirates picked up a couple. Marlins answer back with 2. And Jose Urena gets the top of the order for the Pirates. Josh Harrison, Starling Marte, and Andrew McCutchen. On a hop, Echeverria loads up, and he got him! Wow! And that's a fast man in Josh Harrison. A wicked ball in the hole, and Echeverria stayed with it.
Fantastic play by Aleni. He knows the speed of Harrison, but what a rocket of an arm. Spragues doesn't have to do too much, just receive this throw. Harrison frustrated, saying, really? Trying to get down the line. Big guy, what are you doing going head first? Don't do that. Never liked a runner going head first into first base. Nothing good comes of it. See a lot of injuries being done to the thumbs. It's just not a natural thing to do. Roberto Alomar was one of the ones that used to do it notoriously back in the day.
D. Gordon had an injury doing that. Into right. Ichiro. Been an active day for Ichiro in right field, and 2 outs for Urena here in the 5th. Geico on this day in Major League history. Raleigh Fingers becomes the first pitcher to record 300 career saves as the Brewers beat the Mariners. Now, Jessica Blaylock was telling us yesterday that there is a Hall of Fame here, or I guess it's a museum, the Mustache Museum, or is it the Mustache Hall of Fame?
Mustache Museum.
Okay.
But
she's on a party boat right now.
She's partying right now.
She's out of I don't know if she's out of range for a microphone or if she just turned it off and is having a beverage.
I would pick the latter.
But my point is, I didn't hear her say Rollie Finger's name, and he's got to be like on the.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's relaxed. We lost her.
That one fouled back and out of play. If you're just joining us, Jessica has been around PNC Park. She's filed a few reports. Her last one was at the docks, and I foolishly asked her what else was going on out there, and she spotted a boat with a party, and now she's on the boat and part of.
And party E.
Yes. McCutcheon.
Hope she has sunblock on.
Prado, backhand. That's a nice recovery after 2 errors last inning by Martin Prado. And a quick 1-2-3 for Urania. Ah, that's right. Back to Miami for the Fish, and on a Tuesday night, a 3-gamer against the hot Kansas City Royals starts. That's an Andrew Kasher, Giordano Ventura start. We start things at 6:30. South Florida Honda dealers, get you ready with Marlins Live. The world champs coming to town. Jose Fernandez gets the ball on Wednesday night. Tom Kohler on Thursday. Just is going downhill further and further. But you know what? She deserves a break. Real Mito fouls the first pitch off. Ichiro and Xavier Scruggs against the veteran Ryan Vogelsong. Vogelsong with a fastball in the upper 80s, but plenty of off-speed offerings and plenty of experience to go along with it. JT doubled down the right field line and bounced to third. How do you like the retro uniforms with the black pants?
I love it, especially if you're a big fan of the 70s. And I was watching a lot of baseball and seeing how dominant the Pittsburgh Pirates, back when it was a 2-division league in the National League, dominated the Eastern Division.
See, I like that look. I like the stirrups with the stripes. Real Muto pulls it to third. Freeze.
To me, it brings me back to the days of Bill Madlock and Willie Stargell and Dave Hartman.
Thursday, Marlins and Royals wrap up the series. Seniors 55 and older get free tickets with an ID on Senior Free Ticket Thursdays. Presented by Wellmax Medical Centers. Go to  for details. Ichiro now is lined out and walked. He's looking for his first career hit against Vogelsong, and that fastball is low.
Isn't that cool to listen to? He's still looking for his first major league hit after having 3,008 hits career.
Little tapper. I'm always, and we had it the other night on the home run by Scruggs. But D. Gordon in the dugout this entire series, and yeah, we've got a mic in and around there, but D has a narration for just about every swing.
Ryan has stayed away the entire time off Ichiro. See him right there again, broadcasting it, saying he's scared of you, Each. I don't think Ryan Vogelsong is scared of many things.
Gets 2-1 here. And a strike.
Must have hit the corner. Ichiro thought it was a ball the way he reacted to it.
Lorenzo Bundy and D. Gordon. It's fouled at the plate. Vogelsong back in Pittsburgh after a 6-year run from 2001 to 2006. Was drafted by the Giants, got to the big leagues with the Giants, then to Pittsburgh, as you pointed out. 3 years in Japan, then a full year in the minor leagues. 19 professional seasons. Ichiro up the middle, backhanded by Harrison, and he got him. It's a nice play by Josh Harrison.
It really is, and Josh Harrison has done a fantastic job taking over at second base and being that everyday guy after the Pirates traded Neil Walker away to the Mets. Versatile player, played a lot of third base, played a lot of outfield, any which way as long as he would get in the lineup. This year has made that move pay off for the Pirates.
Now Scruggs, who was struck out twice, caught looking in the second. And went down swinging in the fourth. I think the amazing thing about Vogelsong is you saw all those different stops in 19 professional seasons. It wasn't until 2011 when he got to San Francisco that he really kicked it in. That's when he started to have success in the big leagues. In fact, he was an all-star that year.
But I would not be surprised that you ask him, he'll say Japan had a lot to do with it, and one of the biggest reasons is Japan teaches you balance. You start listening to different information also, and a lot of repetition over there, and he was able to then bring it back to the U.S. and put it into play. And boy, was he a big factor of that Giants pitching staff. He was the number 5 guy. He would give you innings. He would save the bullpen in a way that a lot of other number 5 guys would not do.
He had an incredible postseason in 2012. Made 4 starts and gave up just 3 runs. Of course, the Giants won their second of 3 World Series titles. And boy, when he throws a fastball to Scruggs, it is right in on the hands.
It's right in on the hands, up in the zone, trying not to throw anything in the bottom 3rd quadrant. tying him up. He'll go soft away, and then once Scruggs starts looking soft away, he uses his veteran presence by being able to hit the spots inside. It's a fine line. If he misses out over the plate, Scruggs will make him pay.
Two. 88 on that fastball. He has hit 90, but not often. Full count. In on his hands, and a soft liner to Rodriguez at short. A 1-2-3 inning for Miami. Bottom 6 in Pittsburgh. 3-2 Fish. Let's do a little T-Mobile. Give you greater coverage of baseball. How about Robbie Ray of the Diamondbacks? Beat the Padres 2-1. Cespedes went off yesterday, and the Mets had a nice win over the Giants. Big Poppy, nice ceremony up in Detroit. Then he popped one out of the ballpark.
That was after a rain delay. Look at the group he joined. Jastrzemski, Williams. So that's heavy company right there.
Ryan Vogel's song as he got to the dugout, got some pats on the back. Pirates bullpen is active. Miami's bullpen is active. Jose Urena ventures into the 6th. Gregory Polanco, David Freese, Josh Bell, Antonio Bastardo is in the bullpen. Ball to strike. Polanco doubled back in the 4th on a ball that everybody, including me, thought was out. Including Polanco, trotted down to first. Nick Wickren was doing some long tossing down there, and now it looks like he'll get serious and get up on the mound.
Well, this is a guy that Urena knows has swung the bat well against him already with that grand slam that we showed earlier, but the double today in the line drive to right field on the first at bat.
Hit hard. Gordon out on the outfield grass, down to a knee, gets the out. Boy, Polanco's had some good swings in the ballgame. The most fearless voice in sports is on FS1. The one and only Colin Cowherd is bold, unique, and outspoken. And you can see him on the herd every weekday at noon Eastern on FS1. Glad you're with us in Pittsburgh. This is such a gorgeous venue. The last 2 nights it's been full. Big fireworks show last night from that bridge, that Clemente Bridge, right in the middle. They closed the bridge down. They set the fireworks out there, and they have at him. Gordon gets another one off the bat of Freeze. And there's 2 outs here in the 6th. Then Miami, as Don Mattingly said, leaving Cincinnati and arriving here, he said sometimes you just want to get out of a city and get to the next one and turn the page. And his ball club has done that quite nicely. And by the way, might I add, the second best record in all of baseball since the All-Star break, the Cincinnati Reds at 21-12, and they've dismantled the Dodgers in the first 2 of that series. And those 2 are at it right now. The Dodgers lead the Reds 4-0, bottom 7, but the Reds scored 20 runs, 20, and had 30 hits in the first 2 games against the Dodgers after the Marlins left town. Josh Bell is bounced out, has a sacrifice fly. So the Marlins can attest that the Reds are hot, and they just saw that firsthand. And the Fish walked in here. The Pirates had won 4 in a row going into Friday night. And that theme continues with the Kansas City Royals, who've won 7 in a row and 12 of 14. And are tied 1-1 with the Twins.
See what Urania is doing right now, throwing everything down and away. It's gone full count against Josh Bell. 3-2. All the misses have been away. They do not want to go in at all against Bell. Quick hands, good power, short porch in right field. That one missing location. Urania lucking out now at 91 pitches, and this is the decision now that Don Mattingly is going to have to make with Urania if he gets through this one. He'll be hitting 2nd in the lineup. Been pretty solid so far.
That one's going to get over the head of Prado and end up in left field. Bell's not stopping. Yelich's throw is on the mark, and he's out. Wow. The rookie aggressive on the bases. The Pirates are going to look at the replay. Gordon with the tag.
This is a great job by Yeli. Attacking, throwing a strike again. Talk about getting outs at 2nd.
The Pirates, 2 runs, 4 hits. They've got 2 errors. This is the 5th outfield assist in this series.
Great tag by D on that. Quick tag, anticipating Bell going straight into the bag.
Fireworks, everybody loves them. They were great here last night, and they'll be going on Friday night at Marlins Park. It's Padres, it's Marlins. The Budweiser Burger and Beer package kicks in for just $25. Go to marlins.com for tickets. That's the weekend at Marlins Park. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, San Diego. Antonio Bastardo for the Bucks. And the Marlins have got Robert Andino on deck. And Danny Echeverria at the plate. And then D. Gordon. Here in the 7th. Look at Andino. Echeverria reached on an error, and that proved to be a costly one for the Pirates. That was in the 5th. That opened the door for a 2-run inning. Marlins would have just a bunt single by D. Gordon, but the error by Rodriguez, a sacrifice bunt, stolen base, a wild pitch, a walk, all that contributed to the 2 runs. Bastardo, one of the lefties in a decidedly left-handed Pirate bullpen. Acquired for the Mets in the Jonathan Neese trade. And down goes Echeverria. You got 4 lefties in the bullpen. Bastardo, Jeff Locke, Felipe Rivero, and Tony Watson.
I made my living off lefties. I wish that would have happened in my career. I'd never had seen so many lefties in the pen, and now you'll see Miguel Rojas because no one's on base. If Etche would have gotten on base, it would have been Robert Andino, most likely to sacrifice him over to second base.
Pinchapani presents Rojas. Miguel Rojas has had an impact in this series. 5 hits in 7 at bats, 2 singles last night, and hit his first homer of the season on Friday.
He knew it. For a first home run of the season, Miguel felt it, knew it the entire way. The trajectory was just perfect.
Nick Wittgren in Miami's pen. And Bastardo, whom the Marlins have seen an awful lot. This is a guy that has been in and out of the division. Philly and the Mets. And now a Pirate.
Wasn't having a good year with the Mets. Mets decided, oh, let's do a change of scenery with them. But during his years with the Phillies, really took off. Was able to use more his fastball and had a really good changeup also that was taught to him by J.C. Romero while he was a teammate of his with the Phillies.
And Rojas evens the count at 2-2. Well, this is the second time that Bastardo has been a Pirate. He was also a Pirate last year. It's ironic they got Bastardo back. The Mets got Jonathan Neese back. 2-2. Soft pop-up. And there are 2 outs. Now Miami did make a roster move today. You weren't with us earlier in the show. A.J. Ramos is off the disabled list. And Brian Ellington is sent back to New Orleans. Ellington has thrown the ball very well, and you would expect if there's any need for an extra bullpen arm, and there might be, he'll be back pretty quickly. I guess the question with Ramos is, what's the role for A.J. coming back? He was certainly in that closer role and was an all-star. Of course, Fernando Rodney has pitched well as a closer, not necessarily in the 8th inning. Ramos trying to pitch through a finger injury. Don Manley before the ball game said he has to wait and see how the game shakes out. D. Gordon drives that to right center field, hangs up from McCutchen, and he runs it down. That's a 1-2-3-7 for Bastardo. 7th inning stretch. Marlins bullpen takes it. The highlights of the day so far on a fun day at the ballpark on a Sunday in Pittsburgh. 3-2, Marlins on top. Jessica Blaylock, when last we saw her after the Frisbee catch, she was reclining on the party boat. Jess, where are you now? You back in the ballpark?
Hey, I've made it back inside PNC Park. Every party has to come to an end. Unfortunately, that was the case for me, so it's back to work now. Hey, here in Pittsburgh, it's a homecoming of sorts for Marlins strength and conditioning coordinator Ty Hill. He spent the first 7 years of his career with the Pirates. Before that, though, he attended Penn State University on a scholarship awarded to him by none other than Barry Bonds. Ty was able to get a degree in exercise physiology after his stop in Pittsburgh. He spent some time with the Royals before landing in Miami with the Marlins, and now he gets to work alongside the guy that helped kick-start it all, Barry Bonds. Hey guys, by the way, I had a chance yesterday to meet Ty's mom, Gloria. She said the first time that she met Barry, she was so overwhelmed with emotion. She just wanted to say thank you to the guy who was responsible for helping send Ty to college. How cool of a story is that?
It's really cool. And we talked about Bonds and his Pittsburgh ties in his 7 years here. A great start to his career. Two-time MVP as a Pirate. It's a small world sometimes in baseball. Now, sorting this move out, Miguel Rojas stays in the ball game. And Rojas is going to go to first base. So Xavier Scruggs is out, and Nick Whitgren and the pitchers that might follow him are in that 7 spot. And the Marlins are hoping that Whitgren can keep the Pirates at bay, which would make for an interesting 8th and 9th for sure. Kyle Bearclaw probably not available, but you've got Ramos, you've got Rodney, got Dustin McGowan.
And just in case, the Marlins already have Hunter Cervenka warming up in the pen. One of the biggest reasons they will be hitting for their pitcher spot. And they have 3 lefties, including Matt Joyce, which is the leading pinch hitter in all of baseball with 13 pinch hits.
That one flipped, fouling out of play.
Including what, 4 home runs in those?
John Jaso and Adam Frazier, the other left-handed bats to choose from on that Pirates bench. That decision to send Ellington down for Miami. Now, can your hair do that?
Oh, is that a tilde on top of the?
That's right. You've been lobbying for one on his uniform. Now he's got one on his head.
Oh boy, that'll be all over. It is all over. What do you call that?
Unique into left. A base hit by Rodriguez. And Pittsburgh has a start to their bottom of the 7th. Eric Fryer now, the Pirates catcher.
That's a good pitch selection, going with a slider, just bad location. Pitch up in the zone, Whitgren not being able to finish it off. Fortunately, it stays in the ballpark because that was a hanging slider. There's AJ warming up.
Yeah, Ramos and Cervenka. Let's see if Fryer's bunting. He is, and he sets it down. Real Muto to first in time. A lot going on around the plate. Remember, the Pirates and the Marlins had that interference call in night 1 on a bunt. And Real Muto had to pick his way around the hitter Fryer. Watch this.
Nicely done, getting a bare hand, pushing it down on the ground, and then shuffling away from the runner's lane to have his own lane to be able to make the throw.
The choice for Clint Hurdle is John Jaso. Well, you have Ureña's hair and, of course, Jaso. I don't know that Jaso can get his to stand straight up, though.
I don't think so. I think it's a little bit longer. Is he aware? Do you think he's aware of it? Or do you think it's static? Is it static?
I think to make the look complete, someone needs to do the old trick of putting the bubble gum on the cap, but somehow affix it to the hair. You know, you blow a bubble and you stick it on the cap.
I know what that is. That's paying homage to the bridges here. It's a little bit like the bridge. No?
I don't even think that would register on the bottom of the Family Feud scoreboard.
No, it wouldn't.
No.
Survey says,
Yeah, that's what you would get. But thanks for playing.
I tried.
1-2 to Jason. Jason started at first base. He was 0 for 1 yesterday. Had a pinch hit single on Friday night. Got him. John Jaso caught looking. Now Jaso very selective, and boy, he's got a beef.
He should. Look where this pitch is. Well, Chris Conroy, first half of the game, first third of the game, was giving this call. That time, this pitch is outside. John Jaso understands the strike zone really well. High on base percentage. Fortunately for Nick Wickren and the Marlins, what comes around goes around, and they get the call.
Now Harrison. Rodriguez still at second. Challenges him with a fastball at 94.
Josh Harrison, for being as small as he is, stands really far from home plate. See him diving in, he dives in, he's hunting that pitch on the outer half, really hits it well. Really appreciate it from center field. Look how far he is. Diving in, challenging any pitcher to throw the ball in the outside corner.
Wickren's 0-2. One and 2. 0 for 3 is Harrison. 6 innings of Jose Urena.
Okay, what? Okay, well, JT's about to go talk to him, but I want you guys to watch once JT goes into his set position, into the squat, where Harrison's hands are. I'll put a mark on it, and then I want you to appreciate 3 hitters later where Marcell Ozuna's hands are from the same camera angle. You won't be able to see the word, you won't be able to see the letter K of Park. You watch right here. Umpire set. This is where it's at. That's where his hands are set the entire time.
1-2. What does that mean to Nick Wickren?
Well, what it does is a lot of catchers and a lot of hitters are thinking, and a lot of pitchers are thinking, okay, let's pitch away because it's far for him to reach. But he dives towards the plate, gives a lot of, and stays back well on the sliders. He's already proven he can hit that slider well. That's a late time right there. Mike Schmidt back in the day used to stand far from home plate and used to dive in, quick hands. This is the thing, Josh Harrison, if you try to go in, you better go way in because he's also quick on the inside part.
1-2.
See that coverage he has? This ball's way outside of the quadrant, yet he's able to still barrel it foul. Get a piece of it.
A 1-run lead for Miami. Sean Rodriguez, the runner at second, with 2 outs in Pittsburgh's half of the 7th. Oh, Wickren stayed out, looked for a call and didn't get it, and it's outside.
And that's right just below where he had fouled the previous pitch, the outside of the quadrant. Harrison, a very good understanding of the strike zone.
2-2 now. They came in, jammed him, popped up. Ichiro with Gordon and Ozuna, and it's Ozuna who makes the catch. Nicely done. 3-2. Don Mattingly watching his ball club with a 1-run lead here in Pittsburgh. Rich Waltz, Eduardo Perez, Jessica Blaylock is back on shore, which is a good thing. And Juan Nicasio out of the bullpen. He's the second reliever to work. Marlins have 2, 3, 4, Prado, Yelich, Ozuna, and if anybody reaches, Real Muto and Ichiro. 6 innings of Ryan Vogelsong, 6 innings of Jose Urena. Nicasio throws a strike. Prado knocked in a run with a ground ball out in the 5th. End of the bat, Bell's at first, and he gets to the bag. You can continue to watch Marlins games if you're on the go and out and about on DirecTV and AT&T. Just download the all-new Fox Sports Go app. Take Fox Sports Florida and Marlins baseball with you wherever you go. Now Yelich, a 1-for-2 day, a walk, a strikeout, and his 15th home run, straightaway center field. I'm with you in that I like the throwbacks from the Pirates from the 70s, but I don't think in the 70s the George Hendrick wearing your pants all the way down to the shoes look had come into vogue. So they kind of look like sweats, don't they? Like a soccer team or something. Now Harrison's got the classic look, right? That's the Bill Madlock, Rennie Stennett. That's the look you're looking for.
Oh yes, the Dave Cash look.
Thank you. And Dave Cash goes to his left and makes the play. Here comes Ozuna. Was Hendrick the first player to wear those pants down low?
Yes, the one that I remember, especially when he was with the Cardinals. I always remember him going all the way down.
All right, now you had diagrammed Harrison in his hands. Here's Ozuna in his hands.
Well, we had diagrammed and we were able to see the park.
Ozuna rolls that one into center field. That's a base hit.
And a seam base hit at that, and that's a good one, a salvage day for Marcell. You see, you don't see any of the park on that, and that's one of the reasons that each hitter is different. You have to go with it. Again, this is Harrison. Look how far he is. You can see the entire word park. You see the K. With Marcell, you don't. In the set position where he's at, he's closer. That's one, that's the other. These are the adjustments that teams have to do. With each hitter, you have to approach them differently. Each hitter is just different in their own way. Marcell this year made the adjustment of getting closer on the plate because he's been that much better on pitches inside, and he hunts pitches inside, where Josh Harrison hunts pitches middle away as good as anybody in the game.
I don't know if he's hunting for it, but I think Ozuna is hopeful he'll get his first stolen base of the season before early October. He's 0 for 3. And it's A.J. Ramos who's still up, and that looks like Marte, McCutchen, and Polanco, who's on the menu for Ramos in his return off the disabled list.
You know what would make it a lot easier is right now a little Apple Taco power from JT. Add a little bit of more runs, taking a little bit of the pressure off AJ. Would be nice to get his feet wet, get him back in there.
Nicasio, a Rocky for 4 seasons and a Dodger last year. So this Marlins coaching staff know him pretty well.
Nicasio has a big scar on the back of his neck. He was injured with the Rockies. Line drive right back at him and snapped his neck and had to have emergency surgery. Fortunately for him, he was able to come back at full strength. It was a scary moment in Colorado.
Ozuna runs, and Real Muto fouls it out of play.
Well, you got the running part of Ozuna, right? And
see, that's slowly sinking.
yeah, the salad's coming down. You think it's the heat? Yeah. It's a good product in that. You know what I like though? He's still out here. Still out here watching the game, cheering on his teammates.
6 innings for Jose Urena.
Those rally dreads.
If it works, yes. Real Muto, a swing and a miss. Nicasio strands Marcell Ozuna. The return of A.J. Ramos, and it's in the 8th in a 1-run game. Yordano Ventura for the world champs. Andrew Kashner goes for Miami. It's a 6:30 start for Marlins Live. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night Royals, Padres Friday, Saturday. Both night games and then a Sunday afternoon. That's the next homestand. This is the end of the road trip. And Miami needs 6 outs to sweep Pittsburgh here at PNC. A.J. Ramos returns from a finger fracture, an injury that he received on a tag play at the plate when he had to cover home. He tried to pitch through it, and in the week and a half, 2 weeks that he tried to do it, his results, his velocity, his control all kind of went lower and lower and lower to the point where the Marlins put him on the DL. And he arrives here into the teeth of the Pirates' order. Marte, McCutchen, Polanco. So he gets to face the Pirates' outfield. He threw a sim game starring Barry Bonds on Friday. Ramos misses out. Popped up, Real Muto, Rojas, and it's Rojas who calls Real Muto off and makes the catch. That's a nice first out to get for A.J. Ramos. Now both Ramos and Fernando Rodney were all-stars, but since June 30th, Rodney, especially in the 8th inning role, did not fare well. And Ramos, especially after breaking his finger, did not fare well. I guess the question, Eduardo, is how does Don Mattingly handle this now? Is Rodney the closer? Is AJ the 8th inning guy? Do they have definitive roles right now?
I think right now you want to get Ramos in the game in not that much of a high leverage situation, so you bring him in the 8th inning instead of the 9th inning. But at the same time, he has done the job as your closer, and Fernando Rodney has done a fantastic job before getting traded in San Diego as a closer, and that's where he's really excelled throughout his career. So you have to think what's better for the team, and right now this could be the best fit for the team. Not to say that it's going to be the end result, but A.J. Ramos in the 8th inning, Fernando Rodney in the 9th inning, if it's going to work, there's no reason to try to change it up.
Now this is McCutchen. The definition of high leverage, I'm sure there's a couple of definitions. I mean, you can say high leverage is 9th inning. You can also say high leverage is Marte, McCutchen, Polanco.
It is. This is the highest leverage, but still, there's a different beast when it comes to 9th inning. For some reason, guys either succumb to the pressure or not. You have 2 guys that do not succumb to the pressure in your rotation. A.J. Ramos does not succumb to the pressure. Neither does Fernando Rodney.
The other dynamic here is you're not sure how Ramos is going to react.
Right.
First time off the disabled list. Prado. And McCutchen is out number 2. So by pitching him in the 8th, you've got help behind him, whether it's Rodney or McGowan or anybody else in the bullpen. If you pitch him in the 9th and those guys throw before him, you wouldn't have the safety net. I'm not saying that's the reason. It's just throwing out another.
No, and that's one of the things that I did speak with Don Mattingly about. But he said, you know what, the inning will dictate exactly how we use our guys. And a lot of people, throw away the book at this one. You look at the lineup right now, the guys that he's had to face, and you mentioned it earlier. This is as high leverage as it gets also with these 3 guys. Those are the ones that you do not want, that you want your best going against.
Here's Polanco, a guy that has absolutely clobbered Miami in his short career. He is 3 for 11 with a double in this series. Now his double hit the very top of the wall in deep right center. He pulls that one foul.
Good snap on the slider by AJ. Something that you did not see before going on the disabled list. Hard break in the zone.
And thankfully for the Marlins, 21 feet. That's the height of the wall in right, because they needed all 21 of those to keep Polanco in the yard. AJ started a swing, but Polanco stopped it. Well, the Marlins as banged up as you'll find in any race. Stanton and Bohr smoked, and Rojas makes the catch. And for AJ Ramos, he's back up on the horse. A 1-2-3-8. This one's going to the ninth. 3-2 Miami. Is brought to you by Southwest Transparency. Low fares, nothing to hide. The all-new 2017 Chrysler Pacifica. And by your South Florida Honda dealers. Little Michael Jackson almost bringing back the We Are Family dance, right?
Oh, yeah. Move it. That's what I'm talking about. He's got moves.
AJ Ramos, a 1-2-3-8. His spot is due up second this inning.
And Robert Andino's already on the on-deck circle. That does not mean that he's going to be the one to hit. Ichiro gets on, most likely Andino will be moving him over with the bunt. If Ichiro fails to get on, most likely it would be Derek Dietrich pinch hitting.
Nicasio for his second inning. Ichiro chops it towards second. Harrison is there to get him out.
And either which way it will be Robert Andino.
And it is Fernando Rodney in Miami's bullpen. That's who the Pirates have locked and loaded. And Dino, an outstanding night on Friday night. A couple of hits, including an RBI single in the ninth that helped decide the game. Ball and a strike. Well, St. Louis right now has a commanding 7-0 lead in the 8th in Philly. A little busted bat. That's going to trickle into right. And Dino has another hit.
Nothing better than a broken bat hit. Slider off the end of the bat, staying with it. Josh Harrison playing more up the middle. Robert will take that any day. Look at it in the newspaper. Now you have to look at it in the internet. It's a lenient.
Echeverria 0 for 3. Miguel Rojas is on deck. Cracked into right field. That's a hit. And Dino scampers to second. Echeverria to first. Back-to-back singles against Nicasio.
Wow, and that's good to see. Adaney going the other way with authority. That's his swing. When he has that going, not elevating the baseball, just keeping it on a line, short, compact. Really good news for Don Mattingly and the rest of the team. If you can see Adaney swinging the bat that way, especially going into an off day. Watch the location of where the pitch is at. Perfectly placed, cut at the last minute. That felt good right off the bat. You see that little bat flip right after. That'll let you know how he feels about it.
Ray Searage, pitching coach. Chuck Tanner was the manager back in '79, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Who was the manager in '71? Bill Burton?
Wow.
Or Danny Murtaugh?
I want to go Danny Murtaugh.
Now Rojas. It was Danny Murtaugh over Earl Weaver and the Orioles in '71.
Good pitching staff the Orioles had. They were trying to go for back-to-back championships. Had won it in 1970 over the Cincinnati Reds. Looking at Palmer, Cuellar,
McNally, Dobson. That one pops away.
That's huge.
From Fryer.
That right there is huge.
That's a pass ball you would expect.
Now the infield has to play in, even with a runner at second. It's a big, big runner right now that's at third base. This pitch right here, sinking into the mitt. Fryer just misplayed it. Thumb has to be up. Instead, had the thumb down, trying to backhand it.
As well, it counts 2-0. From the windup. Hit him. Did it? Rojas is saying it. He turned and talked to the umpire, Chris Conroy. It sounded like it hit something. The count's 3-0.
Hold on now. It looks like Don Mattingly.
That is a reviewable play. Let's take a look.
Oh,
yeah, it got him.
Jersey style.
Yeah, this is going to be bases loaded.
This should be reviewed pretty quick.
They see the jersey move.
Got him. He was trying to do everything in his power to get out of the way. Marlins were going with a safety squeeze there with the infield in 2-0 count. You know what? If you're going to get hit by a pitch, that's the way to get hit.
Right. You want the jersey to be bruised, not your ribs.
Hey, there it is.
And it hit him. That was a nice quick review. And so Rojas will head down to first. The call overturns. And here comes Gordon. Now let's see what the Pirates infield does. They probably have to come in with Gordon's speed.
They have to, and this is where the Pirates are going to make a move.
They got enough lefties out there that they can do that. And Nicasio will exit with the bags loaded and 1 out. And Miami trying to add insurance in the 9th here in Pittsburgh. Wes Kendall Toyota called to the pen. They can't all be Jack Sparrows, can they?
Nope.
Follow the Marlins or any major league team with the MLB at Bats app. Stay up to the moment. Game day. Live video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat. #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablets. Yes, you can watch live baseball and get highlights. But not live highlights. No. Because they're highlights.
Okay.
Yeah. Trying to extract myself from that.
Well, Felipe Rivero, we talked about him 2 days ago about high leverage situations. This is one.
Gordon takes a strike. And it's 0-1. And the Marlins got to Rivero for 2 runs on Friday night.
Great arm, live arm. Just doesn't seem to hit his spots.
Infield in. And now Gordon has to concentrate on contact.
It's not that easy. Also, this outfield, we've seen it already in this series. They can throw. Try to hit it right back up the middle.
And Dino the runner at third. Gordon a little dribbler towards second. Harrison comes home out there.
Rivero executed perfectly. And now advantage Marlins. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Why do I say that? Martin Prado's at the plate. Left-handed pitcher. Bases loaded. Nowhere to put him.
Prado .439, the best in baseball against lefties.
Time for the scissor kick. What do you think?
Now, Rivero intentionally walked him on Friday night.
Martin did not like that strike. Does not show up. Chris Conroy at all behind the plate. But look where it was, right at the top of the strike zone. Martin, a high ball hitter.
Oh, 2 to Prado. Bags loaded. 2 outs. And he got him. Prado strikes out. Rivero gets out of it. Miami's lead is 1. Fernando Rodney coming in the bottom of the 9th in Pittsburgh. Getting his warm-up tosses in. Last night, Rodney came in with the Marlins up by 2. McCutchen, Polanco, and Freeze. His numbers overall, combining San Diego and Miami. 2.25 ERA, 23 of 25. A.J. Ramos navigated the 8th, and he had Marte, McCutchen, and Polanco. In the 9th, Clint Hurdle looking for a comeback. The Pirates, it's been a while since they've had one of those. Though the Jolly Roger and some glorious hair trying everything he could do to get things started.
Oh, you're funny. Good stuff.
So David Freese first. The rookie Josh Bell, a switch hitter, and then Sean Rodriguez. Miami trying to sweep the Pirates in Pittsburgh. Change up, a strike. 0-1. Freese has pop. He homered on Friday, and he's hit a dozen this year. Boy, he follows that up with a 94-mile-an-hour fastball.
One thing Fernando Rodney did, he got here to the ballpark early and was playing long toss with Marcell Ozuna. from one side of the field to the other. Pretty impressive.
Fastball just foul, wide of first.
Loosey-goosey arm. Gave all indications he was ready to go today after 2 back-to-back days. You have an off day tomorrow. Did not have to work the last 3 days in Cincinnati.
Oh, 2. Jose Urena for 6. Gave up 2. Nick Whitgren, scoreless 7th. A.J. Ramos, scoreless 8th. Two and 2.
An effective pitch. Fastball in, speeding up the bat, the hips, the whole thing. This is patented Rodney right now. This is where he goes to his changeup. He usually goes to his changeup. Let's see how JT Realmuto calls it. Going with it.
Freeze to left. Yelich back and at the track makes the catch. That ball had some carry to it. Out number 1 in the 9th.
Watch where he catches this ball out in front. Hits it, makes contact. And those balls usually go and they go deep. Strong man like Freeze catching a baseball out in front like that. But this ballpark, again, 379 straight away left field. Advantage Marlins on that fly ball.
Josh Bell. Bell 1 for 2. We get some playing time with Jung Ho Gung on the disabled list. A grand slam in the early stages of his major league career. Three for 5 as a big leaguer. There's Matt Joyce.
See what Rodney does against the young Bell. He's going after him with his best pitch, and that's the changeup. If he throws a fastball, it'll be more for show out of the zone. Quick pitched him.
Does a quick pitch necessarily bring a changeup?
No, it does not. But what it does, it gets the hitter to rush into a set position, changes load, make it difficult to adjust.
1 and 2.
This kid's going to be a great hitter. Showed it right there on that pitch. 1-2. Just fouling off a fastball after getting changeup after changeup. Be careful with him.
Well, it was a pinch hit grand slam. His only homer. Got him. And a fastball. Strike 3 called, 2 down.
That's as corner can get. Watch where JT sets up right on the outside part of the plate. Great job of receiving that baseball from JT. The location was perfect for Fernando. Now you're 1 out away.
Well, early in the series, we talked about Joyce and his pinch hitting heroics this year. Four pinch hit homers and 14 walks, so on base a lot, has done damage. Busted bat, it floats foul. And the count 1 ball and 1 strike.
This is where Fernando Rodney is focused on keeping the ball down against Matt Joyce. Down and away. Big salsa group called the Gran Combo. There's a phrase in Spanish that says, tírale pa abajo, que son un peligro arriba. In other words, make sure you keep the ball down because he's dangerous up top. Not used in the baseball sense, but easily adaptable to this situation here. Keep the ball down.
So you're saying El Gran Combo is like a pitching coach set to music.
Right, El Gran Combo. Decades have been a staple of the salsa bands all over the world out of Puerto Rico.
Well, the combo in this ball game was Ramos in the 8th, Rodney in the 9th, and a 1-2 to Joyce. Fastball sails away. Don Mattingly is hoping it is a gran combo. Of course, Nick Wickren pitched the 7th. 2-2 to the pinch hitter Joyce. With 2 outs in the 9th. And he zips in a fastball that misses. And this again, the other aspect of Joyce, not only the pop, but the patience and the strike zone recognition. Cervelli is on deck.
If you're Fernando Rodney, you go with your changeup here. That's your bread and butter. Let's see what Joyce is sitting on.
3-2 is out. It's a fastball at 97. He missed. And so Joyce trots to first. Cervelli walks to the plate. And the Pirates are going to pinch run for Joyce. Adam Frazier is the pinch runner. Change up a strike.
Pirates are down to 1 player on the bench. That's Jody Mercer, and he's on deck. Pitcher spot would be on deck. Clint Hurdle throwing all the stops right now.
Frazier at first, the tying run. And Cervelli has to limbo out of the way.
We've got some salsa in. We've got some limbo in also on your part right here. Fastball up. Keeping the island thing going.
Last 6 games, Cervelli hot. Was 0 for 2 last night.
Oof, what a changeup.
So 2 changeups for strike. The fastball was up. And it counts 1-2. And another one coming. And it just missed in.
That's a great job of holding with the hands from Cervelli. The hips took a swing. but the hand stayed back. That's what the changeup does. Outfield playing really deep, no doubles. Runner at first base, good speed.
See if he throws him another one. It's out. It's 3-2, and that starts the runner, Frazier, from first.
And again, he doesn't have to give in. He can get a chase from Cervelli. Cervelli's locked in right now with the fastball. But again, the changeup, the bread and butter. Trying to get Cervelli to chase. Mercer on deck.
Frazier runs, and it's pulled foul. And another changeup.
This is a situation where the outfield can come in a little bit. Runners already going 3-2. They don't have to be now at no doubles depth. Anything in the gap that they cut off that does not reach the wall, Frazier would easily score.
Three-two again. Frazier runs. Busted bat. Prado to first. Ball game, and the Marlins sweep the Pirates. Fernando Rodney saves all three. And Miami 3-2 here on a Sunday. A rare, rare sweep in this ballpark of a three-game series. And the Marlins, after losing 3 in Cincinnati, have a winning road trip by sweeping the Pirates. Christian Yelich with his 15th homer. An outstanding start from Jose Urena. And the bullpen of Wickren, Ramos, and Rodney bring it home. And Miami climbs back to 6 over at 65-59. Marlins live postgame is coming up from Pittsburgh. It's a final 3-2. Marlins win it.